Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the next episode of the Mint Mob. Jason here, joined by my buddy Alex across the pond over in Germany. We're going to dive into what's happening in the broad markets today, but more importantly, we have a mint coming up on the StarGaze platform, and we're going to dive into some of the details around that. So stay tuned, and we will get it rolling. Alex, how you doing, man? How's things?
Hey man, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here again, Mid-Map Podcast. And yeah, you already mentioned it. We have a pretty big thing coming up, but let's at least take a little look onto the markets, what's been going on in the past and currently. I think all of you guys realized or noticed that we are still in the sideways movement. People are waiting for the big two of like events that are going to happen. We've been waiting for rate cuts for pretty long now. I think I just read a post today that people like. I feel like there was the big question whether the rates are going to be cut by 0.25 or 0.5%. Yeah, this is going to be the question. We expect rate cuts this week. Let's see what happens. And then we have the election coming up in November. Yeah, man, crazy times ahead. And it looks like, like from a cycle perspective, that things might getting hot right now.
I hope you're right, my friend. It's been cold for a few weeks, but it's been nice. We've had a few buying opportunities, which has been good, So if you bought Bitcoin in the upper 40s or low 50s, you're already up 10%. You can go ahead and take those gains if you'd like, and put that money somewhere safe. But yeah, we had that going on obviously right now, or I guess it starts tomorrow, 17th, 18th. So we'll probably know something on the 19th, really. And that will be, I think, what the market is really waiting for. And then, like you said, the election, of course. So those two pieces of insecurity and uncertainty will be put to bed very, very soon. And man, I can't wait. I'm tired of seeing these ridiculous political ads and commercials in every corner of the world that I visit. So it'll be nice to get that behind us and get on to much more positive things. But yeah, that said, I think we're still in a spot where we haven't even come close to getting into the banana zone yet. And these two things could be catalysts for kicking that off. So I'm excited to see what happens. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been talking about the election for quite some time now. I mean, we in the very beginning of the year, especially like the first half of the year, we everyone felt like that election is going to be pretty clear. We got like Biden on the one hand, not being able to speak a sentence, and it felt like Trump got like in a pretty comfortable position. But now with the shift, with Kamala replacing Joe, it feels like it's more of I don't know. I mean, who can be asked actually? But if you look at like surveys and stuff like that, it actually says that it's kind of 50-50. Obviously, crypto people cheer for Donald Trump, and anyone who obviously wants some sort of change in the country probably cheers for Trump. But yeah, I mean, everyone is free to share his opinion about politics and everything. And I see that a lot of celebrities. I think there was like um, a pretty big echo that Taylor Swift got when she announced that she's supporting Kamala Harris. And we all know that Elon Musk, for example, is. Have you seen his tweet? Like when he tweeted, what did he tweet? Like at least no one is even trying to assassinate Harris or Biden, and it got like a very big shitstorm this morning. And I think he deleted it after. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't see that, man. I was pretty much working all weekend, so I slept through this morning, and this is the first time hearing about it. You'll have to fill me in.
No, you haven't seen it. So it was actually all over like German media even, and that's kind of rare, like because Elon posts a lot of stuff that is controversial, and yeah, I just woke up this morning and then I saw like, hey, Trump is like provoking and stuff like that, and then I went on X and I saw the tweet, and I went like onto the comments, and he actually like quote unquote said, and no one is even trying to assassinate Biden Kamala. That was basically the tweet, and yeah, he got a pretty big shitstorm for that. Deleted the tweet after that, and yeah, I don't know what to think of it. I mean, he actually like after he deleted it, he instantly said. I think his reaction tweet was which one was it? Let me see. Um, let's see, 10 hours ago. I just have it on the timeline here. Ah, yeah, he said. Well, one lesson I've learned is that just because I say something to a group and they laugh doesn't mean it's going to be all that hilarious as a post on X. And yeah, I like that one. Because he basically gave the explanation that like, hey man, I just wrote it because I just felt it, and you guys overanalyze it. So I mean, obviously, Elon, with all the audience he has, he needs to be a little careful about what he tweets. But yeah, what do you think about all that?
I think he's absolutely right. I mean, you can drop a joke or a comment or some sort of throwaway idea in a private setting, and people can laugh because you have an affinity with that person, or you have a friendship and a relationship that's fairly secure, and you understand what someone may mean, even if they say the wrong thing or they say it in a poor way. But yeah, I mean, the masses are not going to receive stuff like that, especially something that's as charged as political opinion. So I'm not surprised at all based on what you're telling me about this particular reaction to what he posted.
Yeah, definitely. He added right after the tweet another tweet that said, "Turns out that jokes are way less funny if people don't know the context and the delivery is plain text." And yeah, that's pretty much on point.
Spot on.
I but I still feel like he realized that like the prior tweet was some sort of mistake, because he's not known for like deleting his tweets if people just if he gets a shitstorm, for example. And yeah, that was quite surprising. But yeah, that actually leads to the fact that we had another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. He can't even go like do you go golfing or play golf, or what do you do? What's the right term?
Yeah, you would go golfing or play golf. Either one would work depending on the context, for sure,
Oh,
man.
okay, okay, okay. So yeah, Trump was just trying to play golf on, and where was it actually? In Florida somewhere, I think. And yeah, it seems like there were some shots somewhere, and I'm not even sure if the Secret Service shot back, or I don't know. Like, do you have more information?
I just heard about this, earlier this morning. Like I said, when I got up, I jumped basically into the world of NFTs and then went straight into a space. So all I've read basically is the headlines at this point. But I don't have any more details than anyone else, and it doesn't look like anyone else really knows anything based on what I'm saying in terms of like the facts. So I think the information is still coming out, but it's crazy to think that we're in some sort of space and time where this is happening. And I think it just points to the fact that, there's a lot of division in the world. But hopefully once the election comes to pass, we can sort of put this time period behind us and get on to more, interesting things in terms of growth and production. I don't really want to waste too much of people's time talking about, politics and the rest of it. But the only thing I'm interested in when it comes to politics is freedom. And, when you have a two-party system, you basically just have to vote your conscience in terms of who you think is going to give you the most freedom to operate, to move, to innovate, to create, to, move forward in your life unobstructed. And it seems like the world has trended further and further away from that in recent years, especially the last decade. So, for me, I'm just looking for, being in a space and being in a country, in a community where I can create without having the chains of like regulation and government constantly telling me what I can and can't do. So for me, that's all I really care about. I want people to be able to be free to live their lives any way they choose, and also be free to, reap the reward or the consequences depending on the decisions that they make. And ultimately, I feel like that's what makes a strong, solid, cohesive society. We've turned into one where excuses are made, and like all I'm hearing from the Democrats is basically we want to steal from this person and buy your vote. So I mean, I think the level of discourse this time around is pretty poor. Actually, it's been pretty poor the last 4 or 5 go rounds. So I haven't watched any of these debates. I don't care about any of these debates. I'm not really interested in what someone else says or decides they're going to do when they get into the voting booth. All I'm concerned with is, what I can control. And outside of that, I just got to live my life,
But okay, before we wrap up the whole politics topic here, don't you feel like this election is more decisive than usual, as if it could have like greater consequences depending on the outcome?
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, aside from the division that I see in the world, I think the world of wokeness is finally starting to lose its flavor. A lot of people are starting to, spit those ideas out of their mouths and forget about them. They see the nonsense, they see, of like men competing in women's sports type situation, the thing that J.K. Rowling's always railing about. This idea that you should steal from one group to give to another, and you should have a third party who decides who's worthy and who's not worthy. I mean, I think when you get to the point where you have government used as a blunt tool, basically people want to use government as a weapon. So like, let's say, for example, like you're looking at the border crisis, right? If you're a Democrat, you want as many illegal immigrants as possible to come across the border. And if you are a Democrat, you want them to be able to vote without actually being a citizen or having any form of ID. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to vote for the policies that you support. If you're a Republican, you're completely against that because you want the people that vote to have a stake in what's happening in the world that you live in. And so for me, all I'm looking for is common sense. I don't see any common sense in this election. When people argue against, being able to show ID to vote, doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, every country in the world requires you to be a citizen and to have some form of ID for the most part. The fact that that's a controversial idea means that it's a conversation I don't need to engage in because I'm not dealing with rational people. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, is it consequential? It's consequential from the standpoint of people who are invested in one side or the other get to say, hey, I won and you lost. But in terms of ideas, it's completely... It's beyond moronic in terms of philosophical ideas, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, perfectly makes sense. And yeah, I mean, just as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm probably pretty happy once the election is done and you can go back to normal and people stop like speaking only about that all the time. Um, Obviously, we are minting in a few days and want to focus on that. But however, a piece of news from the NFT world was quite special, I think, and that we can mention now. The eGods have created a coin that can be obtained in exchange for burnt youths. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. It's a good idea from one standpoint. It's sort of a slap in the face from another standpoint. I hold the gods. I hold 3, and the reality is I'm not super involved in that particular world, and the reason for that is because the vibe that I get from them is completely degenerate, and that's not who I am as a person. Initially, when Frank moved DGods to ETH, the idea was that he was going to create an exclusive club of not more than 10,000 people who want to enjoy the fact that NFTs are luxury items. That was attractive to me because that made sense. It's almost like joining a club of some sort, a golf club or, some sort of club where you have like-minded people who want to do great things and, create beauty and wonder in the world. And that was interesting to me. Some people coming together, entrepreneurs from all over the world wanting to create. When there was a lot of pressure for him to move back to Seoul, I saw, several chinks in his armor in terms of leadership skills. And so basically what happened was when things got rough on ETH, he caved and went back to Solana. And then in listening to another DJ in space with those guys, he basically blamed one of his lieutenants, someone who's part of DGods for the move to ETH in the first place, saying, oh, well, the only reason we even considered ETH is because you were complaining all the time about going to ETH. And these are the types of things that just point to a lack of leadership. So he went from showing like a really solid form of leadership to a really weak form of leadership. And I think what's happening right now with the DGod token can be a very good thing or a very bad thing. The Utes community feels like they've been ignored since the beginning, and they now can burn a Ute to get, I think it's 120,000 DGod tokens, if I remember correctly. And if you hold dust, you can burn your dust and get a DGod token. But if you hold a DGod, if you hold an actual DGod NFT, you can trade it for 550,000 DGod tokens, I believe. So you're not burning the primary collection, you're just burning some of the accessory collections that go along with it. And this is in an effort to more unify the idea of the focus is DGods, which makes a lot of sense. But if you're, a Utes holder or you held a lot of dust, obviously you're not very happy to see that if you want to get this token, you have to either buy it in the open market or pre-sale, which is already over and sold out, or you will have to basically burn one of your holdings to get it. So I think it was fair in terms of how they did it, because the initial value of the token was basically assigned like if you wanted to burn your Ute, the 120 or 150 number came from the fact that you would need 120,000 or 150,000, I forget the number, DGod tokens to equal the value of like your Ute, right? So he's trading value for value, so you're not really out financially. But if you like the artwork, then you're screwed, right? Because now you have to get rid of your artwork to get the token, or either buy the token. So, there's good and bad things. I think there's been a lot of people who are upset. There's been a lot of people who are excited, and there's everybody in the middle. And I'm just kind of watching to see if there's ever going to be any leadership develop. I have, like I said, 3 DGods. I have 1 listed on ETH right now, and I'm sitting on the other 2 on Solana. And depending on what happens, I may or may not hold on to them, but ultimately I'm going to sell them all because I don't agree with the degen sort of philosophy that they've, basically leaned more into. So that's my hot take on it anyway.
Do you know if there's like a direct way to exchange a like to take that coin, DGod coin, and get a DGod, like the NFT, or is it like just the other way?
What was that? So if you could trade the tokens for
So
a DGod?
yeah, exactly. So you said you can basically trade a DGod for the tokens, but can you like do it the other way around as well?
Well, I'm not 100% sure on that, because I just started looking at the nonsense that they're spouting off in Telegram. They moved from Discord into Telegram, which makes everything even more difficult to get through. I just saw the conversion.
I mean, obviously you can like just convert it to Solana and then buy it back, but yeah, just was curious. But don't you think it looks like yet another, let's call it, desperate attempt to try something new after so many things have already failed?
The thing about this is interesting, right? I mean, I think it's more of a lack of leadership thing for me than it is the doing new stuff thing. I think doing new stuff is good, but you need to see it through, and you need to follow whatever path you set forth until that path says this is going to work or this is going to fail miserably, right? And what I've seen, and I think this is what the Utes community is upset about, is they never really fulfilled any of the promises or the vision for the Utes collection. And then, they switched from chain to chain with that. They switched from chain to chain with DGods. And I think the people who've been following this process they're just kind of over this back and forth. It's not the innovation that's bothering them, it's the lack of commitment to a direction, right? And as you know, coming into Goodfellas, for example, our direction has always been, to find high quality art and grant IP rights to collectors so they never have to worry about what they own, and, avoid the degeneracy. And as you know, when you stick to that vision, you have people who complain and people who think you're doing stupid things, and people who come and go because they don't see, oh, I'm not going to be rich tomorrow. You see what happens when you commit to a line of thinking. You start to repel people who want you to do it differently, and then you start to attract people who want it, done the way that you're doing it. And so when there's this constant flip flop from one side to the other, you keep your community in flux at all times. Like the people don't know, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? They said they were going to do this. They said they were going to do that. They did this. They flipped. And so, you create this constant guessing game. So from my perspective, the innovation is good. Like I like some of the tech that they've put out from, swapping. Like it's really easy to put a Sol DeGod on ETH. And it's really easy to put an ETH DeGod on Sol. Like it's a very slick technology that they've created, and it works very well. The innovation with swapping a DeGod for the token DeGod works very well. But at the end of the day, what is the point of it? I think is kind of the genesis of your question. Like, what is the point of all this? It just looks like activity. And I would tend to agree. It looks like activity because it is just activity. And the reason that it's just activity is because there hasn't been a direction declared. And then they keep just basically saying, hang on. They're doing the old degen thing where it's like, hang on, we got more stuff coming for you. Well, you guys just wait and see. It's the whole, nonsense that you've seen on Solana a million times, rather than just saying, here's what we're about. This is what we're going to do. Because I think they're afraid to either, drop the people who won't follow and don't know how to attract the people who would.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all know Frank's pinned tweet, that we tried some shit, we learned some shit, now we're trying some new shit. And I feel like, that he tries to justify everything he does with that attitude, because I feel like besides the first mover advantage they have, because I think they launched back in October 21, like what have they ever really done well or achieved? I mean, all right, you mentioned the technologies. They're of course so good because they have a much larger financial leeway due to the volume they have and the royalties they get. But like besides that, what is there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Nothing is there. The reason DeGods are DeGods is because
Nothing.
they timed the market. Okay, they didn't do anything special. The guy that created the artwork drew it on an iPad over the course of a weekend, and then they dumped some shit on Solana. It just happened to catch the right vibe with a few people, and they caught the timing of the market correctly. The same thing with like OK Bears, for example. There's a few who basically just timed everything correctly. Same thing with like the
Yeah, but
punks.
but 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 the question is, did they time it correctly, or was it rather luck?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to draw the distinction, then yeah, I would just basically say it's luck. I don't see any, I don't really see a massive vision there other than just throwing your hat in the ring to see, hey, let's see what we can do or what we can create. But yeah, I mean, however they timed it, whether it was planned or whether it wasn't, they timed it correctly. They dropped at the right time, and that's really what put them where they are.
Yeah. So you also probably feel like if the eGods were launched today, they would fail.
100%. Yeah, 100%. If DeGods launched today and they weren't DeGods, and there was no like persona named Frank hiding behind some, ridiculous glasses with a fuzzy nose, none of this stuff would happen because it's not, the market doesn't want that right now. The market is done with that, and it's sort of a relic of the past. And that's why I'm going to ultimately sell all these pieces in the next bull, because this idea is played out. It's done. It's spent its time. So and the interesting thing is, like, you can pair this out to a lot of different collections or pieces or ideas over time. Like the first mover advantage is real. DeGods had first mover advantage. OK Bears, first mover advantage. If you go back before that, punks, first mover advantage. This is a real thing. And when you innovate and you are early to market and you have people glom onto those ideas, you get rewarded for that. So there is beauty and there's art in the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there first. But if they did the same thing today, they would be 0.01 Sol in 3 months.
Yeah, that's actually like what I think as well. And it's actually I think it's still a good thing for the market that it evolved the way it did, because it definitely brings out better projects. And I feel like, especially in the NFT market, it's not as loaded as it used to be, like a year or two ago. I feel like it's not like basically just launching stuff after like a lot of junk, just launching, waiting for people to mint, because it got a lot harder to mint out the collection, and we've seen that plenty of times. And now I have the feeling that, at least some people, like, try to think of anything, or think of something they can build, yeah, they can like do in the future with their project to make it some sort of sustainable. And the best thing is that there are actually people out there looking for art, and I feel like we filled that spot to provide great art to the people pretty good. And coming to Stargaze, and listening to all these spaces, there's like an amount of people caring for art that I would have never imagined, to be honest. And yeah, uh, that was actually like a great way to bring us to our own project. We are launching a collection on Thursday, Siren Syndicate, and or Syndicate. How is it pronounced? Like the second word.
Syndicate. Siren
Syndicate. Okay.
Syndicate.
Um,
Yes.
and I think you even did a thing or two as well for that collection. I think you spent a minute or two. So yeah, tell us a little bit what you've done the past nights. Feels like are you actually, like, I know that you spent a lot of time during the night, preparing everything. Are you like that type of guy usually? Like, do you like working at night, or is it like just because you need to and there's so much stuff to do?
It's both. I mean, I have a problem. When I start something, I want to finish it. Like, I don't want to wait. So I just get obsessive about getting it done. But also, timelines are short. And so rather than waiting to the last minute for something that may or may not come through, I like to have a familiarity with the technology. I like to make sure that, the product is ready to go, in this case, the artwork. And so there's been a lot of new tech to learn and to master. There's been a lot of artwork and data work to do. And so from my perspective, I've had to do these things this time around because I wanted to make sure that everyone has a good experience. These are things that no one really sees or cares about or thinks about. But when it comes to the minting process and when it comes to what we're doing, when I say that I want everything to be of high quality, that requires a time commitment. And it's not something that's just going to happen magically. I think people forget often that, great outcomes are engineered. They don't just happen by magic sauce, And this is my attempt at engineering a positive outcome. So from my perspective, the work needs to be done. It needs to be done well ahead of time, so that if there are mistakes or issues or what have you, those can be solved and rectified before going on to the next phase. And so, yeah, all weekend I worked on the artwork. I did 3 one-of-ones for the prints that are going to mint. And then I ran the collection for drop several different times, several different ways to make sure all of the pieces are going to be working well and cohesive. And, then of course I had to do all the data work that's associated with these and prepare it in a format that StarGaze accepts. So it's a little bit different work because on Solana, when we do a drop on Solana, the files, they, like if you're uploading metadata and the artwork, Solana expects you to start with the number 0, but StarGaze expects you to start with the number 1. So immediately from the get-go, like when I created everything from 0 on, and then I go to upload it and it won't accept it, now I have to go back and redo everything. And it sounds very simple. It's like, well, everything's just off 1. But it's not really that simple to fix because all the metadata has to be altered, all the file names have to be altered, and then you have to re-upload or give it another try. And so it's just little things like that that come up when you start getting into the details of what you're creating. And this is one of those things that I would have missed had I not been ready with some artwork and tested some things out. So yeah, lots of work for sure. But hopefully the end result is something that people appreciate. And, even if I get one compliment on the artwork, that'll make it all worth it. So that's kind of where my head is on it anyway.
Let's I hope it's not like too boring for people, but let's dive a little bit into the tech, because I definitely want to be like more involved in the background process and the minting stuff and launching stuff in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I would like to know is, like, compared to Solana, you just said a couple of words about that, but do you feel like StarGaze is more user friendly, like with the tech background, or do you feel like Solana is easier?
They're comparable. They're about the same. There's not, there are some UI tools that you can use now, so you don't necessarily have to do code. Metaplex is the big, company on Solana that puts out basically all of the NFT standards, and they have UI tools that you can use to create with in terms of what you put on chain. But before you get to that point, creating the layered artwork, going through it, editing it, making sure that's good, and then kicking out the data if you do edits, like all of that stuff, metadata matched with artwork. That's all done before you get to the UI tools. So if you get familiar with how to do that stuff, then the UI tools help you, because you don't necessarily have to write code for a mint page. You can just basically drop everything on Metaplex's platform and they'll do it for you. And StarGaze is the same, but their contracts look more like an Ethereum platform. So when we're dropping on StarGaze, the tools are a little less obvious. But once you've played with it a few times, it makes sense, if that makes clarity, or if that makes sense, it makes sense that it makes sense. You get familiar with it. But yeah, you're dealing with contract addresses. You're dealing with multiple layers of creation for contracts. And again, they have a UI that helps, but it's a little less user friendly than what you might find on Metaplex, because obviously it's newer, it's a little less developed. But when you get to the data piece, when you get to the metadata and you get to the artwork, the uploads and all that kind of thing is basically the same in terms of what you need to create, but the storage is different. So you have to set up a different account for file storage. And then you also have to set up, your files to run starting with the number 1 rather than the number 0, which can be a challenge when you have, hundreds and hundreds or thousands of files.
And if you just like recap the last couple of days, like what took the most time? I know you did a lot of data work, like you had to name all the layers and everything, but I also know that you looked a lot at the art pieces, like you edited a lot of stuff. You had to look for good compositions. Like what was taking the most time?
Probably the data work took the most time, because I had to redo it, right? So if you have to regenerate data or regenerate artwork, you can write code that will actually rename files. On the Windows platform, there aren't a lot of great sort of, point and click tools that will actually increment a file name, because the file names are generally in text. And when you say, okay, well, I need you to change that 0 to a 1. Okay, well, how do I do that? Because that 0 is actually a piece of text. It's not a number. So the system won't see it as a number. So you have to invoke a bunch of, conversion routines and renaming routines. And so it's just easier to rerun it if you don't already have a script ready to go. And then on the data side, I have already written some code to make sure that the files that I spit out are the correct ones. So I just had to modify the routines there to spit out the correct files. So that side was fairly quick. The biggest time consumption in terms of creation was the artwork side. So the 3 prints all had to be done. Again, those are done from scratch. And then the actual playing with the StarGaze chain, interacting with the chain on the testnet, was the other big thing. So prepping everything, pretty standard, interacting with the new chain, that's going to take some time to figure out. And then, of course, anytime you're doing anything creative on the art side, that's going to take some time to figure out as well. So probably between going back and forth with the StarGaze team That's probably the most amount of time I spend on any one thing. And then the second would be like one of the pieces of art. And then, of course, there's 3 of those.
So I guess you would agree if you say that if we consider this like drop a batch, that this batch was basically the most time consuming one.
By far. This is definitely by far. Well, except for maybe the very first batch of bosses, because again, with this particular one, we're basically managing a team, whereas initially it was just me and then sometimes you. Now it's me, it's Brady, it's StarGaze admins and team, it's 2 one-of-one artists, it's an OG artist, right? And it's timing all these things to come in at the right time. And then, of course, building your whitelist, building your marketing pieces. Like this week, the biggest time commitment is going to be communicating what we're doing on 5 different spaces. And that's what I'll be doing basically all week. And in addition to that, of course, creating the graphics and the promo pieces that we need to put out on X and social media and that sort of thing. So, the work won't be done until the drop is actually complete. So still quite a bit more to do.
Yeah, but we gotta be honest and show a lot of appreciation for the one-of-one artists, especially Andrew Lewis, of course, as well, because we actually had a pretty short period of time. I'm not even sure when we decided to have that drop. I think it was like 4 weeks ago, like mid-August, I think. And you said it. There was a lot of it was basically a new chain. It never launched on StarGaze, so you had to learn a lot of stuff. Then there was like a complete new female forum introduced, and we knew that from the very beginning that the layers we had, that we would not be satisfied with that. So probably going to be pretty difficult to top that sometime in the future. We'll probably have another batch by Christmas, but we need a plan first to see how we can actually top that. But let's get to a little summary for the people here of what to expect on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. So we will have 210 mints basically, because every mint is going to result in 2 different NFTs that you're going to own. Some of you lucky people are even going to own 3 pieces. We are going to kick off the mint on Thursday, 7 p.m. UTC. Mint price for whitelist and our bosses is going to be 5 Atom. Public is going to be 7 Atom on Friday. And tell us a little bit about the prints.
Yeah, so the mint is 2-stage basically. If you want to think of the mint side as being almost like a placeholder, but rather than just doing some crappy placeholder NFT, what we did was we created 3 individual numbered prints like you would purchase at an art gallery, right? And there's 70 of each, totaling 210. We're sticking with the 21, as our homage to the, the granddaddy chain of Bitcoin. We do a lot with 21s and 14s and 7s. So 210, 70 of each. You'll mint 1 of those or 2 of those or 7 of those. You can mint a max of 7 per wallet. So if you want more than that, obviously you need to submit multiple wallets. So anyway, you'll mint 1 of those, and then from the collection, you'll be dropped as many pieces as you mint. So basically it's a 1 to 2 mint. So you mint 1, but you get 2 NFTs. And so basically the print side of things is designed to give you a collectible piece of art rather than just some burnable piece of crap mint pass, right, or drop pass. When you see these pieces, I think you're going to be really, really, really excited. They're very, very cool. And I think a lot of people are going to want to collect all 3. I'm definitely one of the people who will be collecting all 3, probably multiple times over. And if you like these pieces, then you're really going to love the surprise bonus that we're going to release later during the mint. And we'll show you guys what that looks like. But ultimately, those pieces will be representative of the fact that whatever you mint, you're going to also get a drop. And so you've minted one, you're going to get a drop. So that's two for every mint. And those pieces would basically all fold into the same collection by look and feel. So even though it's going to be technically two different collections, there's be a collection of prints and then the main collection, which is being dropped to anyone who mints a print, they're going to be cohesive. They're going to look like they belong together, right? And so the theme, of course, with StarGaze Zone and Cosmos and all the rest of it, we're thinking stars, we're thinking galaxies, obviously all the obvious stuff. But one of the things that was, like a big deal when I was growing up and even now today is Star Wars. So there's going to be some nods to Star Wars on these prints, and I think you guys will get them when you see them. And of course, if you're fans of the franchise, you'll definitely want to collect all three of those print pieces. So basically, we're creating two collectible collections instead of one, disposable drop pass collection and then a real collection. So there's going to be a total of 420 pieces spread across two collections, one print collection of 210 and one actual, generative collection of 210. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, totally, man. And I love that we just have so many references to the number 21, being able to have the public mint on the 21st. I think even the digit sum is like, if you add it up, the date is it 21? Let me see.
The mint,
Damn, it's 20.
the public mint is on 20.
Yeah,
Boss's mint starting the 19th. Public mint starts on the 20th, and then assuming we mint out, which who knows if we will or won't, then we can go ahead and start the drop on the 21st. But whether we mint or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is that we get high quality art into the hands of high quality holders, which is always the goal. We want you guys to know that you own the IP, and we want to know that we have collectors who honor it and really want to hold it close. So at the end of the day, we're targeting that 21 to get the generative collection out to everyone who minted a print. But we don't know, obviously, how the mint's going to go. It's always a crapshoot when you do anything creative. Maybe people love it. Maybe people hate it. Maybe people, love what we do. Maybe people hate what we do. We don't know. We'll never know until we just put it out there. So we just have the balls to put it out there and see what happens.
exactly, man. And one more question. So the pieces we have been using to promote the project, I mean, all of the people were able to see these pieces on X. These are not going to be in the final collection, right?
Yeah, they may or may not be. Like, these are just pieces that I pulled from like my test runs of the artwork. And, you asked me what was most time consuming, and I totally forgot what was most time consuming. What was most time consuming was going through 200 and I think it's up to 25 layers, like 225 layers, and editing and updating every single one of them and naming them. That took 2 days. So, so that was probably it.
Did you stick to the same like theme in terms of like the Leia names compared to the male collection?
You know what? This is a great question, and I totally spaced it. This is one of those little details that we're doing that a lot of people wouldn't even notice or care about. Anytime we could have a crossover trait, like there's a couple of pairs of glasses that are crossover traits. You'll find that they exist in the women's collection and in the men's collection. There's a couple of traits that have, obviously men's and women's clothing is very different, but there are some color matches, like where you might have a female outfit that's a similar color to a male outfit. Anytime I was able to, I would name those outfits the same, right? So anytime I'm able to do the crossover stuff, I do the crossover stuff.
Interesting, man. Yeah, I'm going to love to check that out. I haven't seen the names yet, but looking forward to to see those names for the first time on Thursday. Not going to like the full collection is going to be dropped a little later, but looking forward to that. And I think we have summarized all the important information. Have we forgotten anything?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, if you're, if you want to make sure that you're going to get the piece count that you want, just remember that you need to submit multiple wallets if you want more than 7. And this is a limitation on the StarGaze tech. They don't want to create whales, straight off of Mint. But we wouldn't have had to do that anyway because we've got the print collection rather than the generative collection. And the other thing is, look at the details. Like when you pull the artwork down and you start taking it in, look at the details. Look inside the metadata, because for 21 of you, there's going to be an added bonus. And you'll notice the difference inside the metadata. One piece will say, you got in your print, and we owe you a piece from the generative collection. And then inside the other metadata, it's going to say you've got a print, you're getting the generative piece, but you're also getting a third bonus. And there's 21 of those laced throughout the collection. Again, coming back to 21s. So I'll just drop that alpha here. Obviously, we'll explain more on podcasts and spaces as we go through the week. But check out that metadata. Keep an eyeball on it.
Oh man, all these kind of bonuses just make me go crazy at the on mint day. To be honest, I'm the kind of guy that just keeps minting. It's kind of like that feeling you have when you, I don't know. That's what I probably expect what people have when they gamble. And I feel like, man, I need to get that bonus, man. I need to keep trying. Like the next one is going to be the big one, and yeah, I'll try to leave some for you guys.
100%, man. Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely be minting my ass off, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
Perfect. So I think this should be it for today's episode. We'll have to see about the next Mint Map podcast episodes because obviously I'll be out of country, so we'll have to see about that. But let's focus on the Mint for now. We'll have 2 more spaces coming up. Where is like the Thursday space? Is it like on the StarGaze channel?
It is. I can't remember if it's on Brady's timeline. And his Twitter handle, I think, is @BradySignal. I think he had a collection called Signal. I can't remember if it's just his timeline or someone else, but it'll be pretty obvious because we'll be posting it everywhere. I think the StarGaze space is on Thursday, and then the artwork space is on Friday. And I forget who runs each one, and maybe sometimes they alternate, but we're going to hit both of those spaces, obviously, which is noon Arizona time or 7 p.m. UTC, wherever you are in the world. And of course, the Mint will be going on for as long as it needs to go on, starting on Thursday
so
for
it's
whitelist.
basically it's basically 2 different spaces organized by StarGaze. So because I wasn't sure if like this second one was just like us being on the Mintmap spaces, but it's from StarGaze, right?
Yeah. So remember the reason that we're jumping into StarGaze and giving it a go is because we were asked to do so and won a grant, right? And so StarGaze is part of Cosmos, and obviously Atom being the token for the Cosmos chain. Atom Foundation is who granted us the opportunity to do this. So Atom Foundation, in conjunction with StarGaze, run a weekly schedule of promotional spaces where creators and collectors can go and find out what's happening. And then they have, I think, what they call something, I forget the name of the mint, but it's something that they do every Friday. So there's always Fresh Mint Friday, that's what's called. So we are the featured collection on this week's Fresh Mint Friday. And so that's why public goes live at noon. And of course, bosses and whitelist, you guys go live on Thursday. You have an extra day ahead of time to mint so that, no one can front run you on the pieces. And that's basically what we're looking for. And of course, I'll post all that stuff to my timeline, and it'll be all over everywhere. You won't have any problems finding it if you're looking for it.
Yeah, just keep an eye out. Just keep an eye on Discord. Just keep an eye on X, and you will probably get emails and everything, so you will know about that. So this should be it for today's MintMap podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see each other on Thursday and on Friday. Looking forward to see you guys there as well, and looking forward to the mint. Let's have a great time together. Let's celebrate this Siren Syndicate, and yeah, this is it, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll talk soon, guys. Have a good one.